My mom barked, "No one wants to see your face at my retirement celebration," because I was a letdown by their standards. So, I answered, "Then let's not waste anyone's time acting like we're still a family." By 6 o'clock that evening, my mother would have called me 31 times. My brother would be typing and deleting the same panicked message over and over. And the family that spent my entire life treating me like a stain on their good tablecloth would be standing in a rented ballroom trying to explain the empty chair with my name on it. But that is the end of the story. Let me take you back to the morning it started, because you need to understand exactly how far these people were willing to go before I finally decided I was done paying for the privilege of being related to them. So, picture this. I'm 36, married to the kindest man I have ever met. His name is Owen. He teaches music to third graders, and in 15 years together, he has never once made me feel like less. We have 2 kids, Micah, who is 9, and Ada, who is 6, and we live in a quiet little neighborhood just outside Cincinnati. For the last 6 years, I have poured everything I have into my custom furniture business. I built it from nothing, board by board, in a rented workshop that used to be a tire garage. The first winter, I ran a space heater off an extension cord and wore fingerless gloves to sand tabletops, because I could not afford to heat the place and buy walnut in the same month. After years of working under men who put their own names on my joinery and pocketed the credit, I decided enough was enough. Now I clear about 92 grand a year building high-end furniture and custom built-ins, the kind of work that ends up in magazines and in houses with security gates and long gravel driveways. I am very good at what I do. I built this life with my own 2 hands, and I have the calluses and the client list to prove it. But my family never once saw it that way. To them, nothing I did was ever going to be enough, because I had committed the one unforgivable sin. I had chosen a trade. My sister Claire was the golden child, a corporate lawyer at a firm downtown, with her name inching toward the letterhead, or so everyone believed. My brother Grant married up, and up meant Sabrina Vance, a hedge fund manager worth more than the rest of us combined, and he never let a single holiday pass without reminding the table. Me? I was the one who threw away her potential in a wood shop. My mom, Diane, was a senior executive at Sterling Federal, one of those women who measured a person by their business card and their zip code and the label sewn into the back of their coat. My dad, Gary, was the top-selling realtor in his office, and just as obsessed with appearances as she was. They had wanted a lawyer, a banker, a doctor, anything they could name drop at the club without their voices going quiet. Instead, they got a daughter who showed up to Thanksgiving with sawdust under her nails and a husband who taught kids to play the recorder. They treated Owen like a downgrade, like I could have done so much better if only I had aimed higher, at a man with a title and a portfolio and a boat. You want to know the truth about that famous scene at Thanksgiving? The one they still throw in my face? 2 years ago, I gave my mother a walnut console table for the holidays. 90 hours of my life went into that table. Hand-cut joinery, a live edge I chased for a week to find, 4 coats of oil I rubbed in on my knees. When she unwrapped it, she looked at it the way you look at a casserole somebody brought that you did not ask for, and she said, in front of everyone, "Oh, well, that is very sweet. I suppose I can find somewhere to put it." Then she asked whether Claire had gotten the earrings she wanted from the boutique. That was it. That was the whole moment. And when I said quietly just to her that it would have been nice to hear a real thank you for once, the family decided I had caused a scene, that I had ruined the holiday with my chip on my shoulder, that poor Diane could not even enjoy a gift without her difficult daughter making it about herself. Remember that table. It matters later. The morning it all cracked open, I was loading tools into my truck for a $27,500 job, a set of built-in bookcases, and a bar for a restaurant owner across town. I had just dropped the kids at school. My phone buzzed in my back pocket. It was a notification from the family group chat, the one somebody had renamed Mom's Retirement Gala. I opened it expecting the usual, a debate about caterers or whether the napkins should be ivory or cream. Instead, I got hit with a wrecking ball. "Do not come to my retirement celebration," my mother wrote. "The whole family agrees you would only embarrass us. You have always been a disappointment." Just like that. No lead up, no softening, just pure, plain contempt from the woman who raised me. I actually leaned against the side of my truck and read it 3 times to make sure my eyes were working. For years, they had tiptoed around their disappointment in me. The awkward silences at dinner, the backhanded compliments about how at least I was handy, the way they introduced me at parties as, "Our daughter, she does woodworking," in the same tone you would use to say, "She has a condition we are managing." But this was not a whisper behind a hand. This was a public execution in a group chat. I scrolled up frantically, hunting for some context, some argument I had missed, some fight the night before. There was nothing. Just cheerful messages about valet parking and a monogrammed cake topper and a poll about the color of the tablecloths. And then this. My fingers moved before my brain caught up. I typed back, "You chose your country club friends over your own daughter." Then I did something that actually made my chest ache. I canceled the gift I had been building for her in secret for 3 months. A walnut secretary desk, hand-cut dovetails, a fold-down writing surface, hidden compartments behind the drawers, brass hardware I had aged by hand with vinegar and steel wool until it glowed like something out of a museum. If a client had ordered it, I would have charged $6,000 and put them on a waiting list. My mother had always secretly admired my work, even while she pretended it was a hobby. Somewhere in the stupid, hopeful basement of my heart, I had let myself imagine her opening it at the party, running her hand over the grain, finally understanding what these hands humans could do. I had been so stupid. The replies started rolling in within seconds. My cousin Blake, who never met a knife he did not want to twist, answered first with a row of laughing emojis, 7 of them, like the joke needed underlining. Then Claire, my lawyer sister, chimed in with, "You really think you belong there after the scene you caused at Thanksgiving?" And my brother Grant, the same Grant I had co-signed a car loan for when his credit was in the gutter, the one I helped move twice and lent $2,000 to during his separation, he just tapped a little heart on Mom's message and said nothing at all. Classic Grant. Never the one holding the knife, always the one nodding at the person who is. Then came the picture. My Uncle Ray, of all people, a man whose deck I had rebuilt for free the previous summer, posted a photoshopped image of my face pasted onto a cartoon lumberjack, captioned, "The Family Charity Case." A few of them reacted with laughing faces. My aunt reacted with a heart. I stood in that empty parking lot and I laughed out loud, alone, because it confirmed every single thing I had ever suspected about where I stood. I was done. Truly, finally, all the way done. What none of them knew was that I had been keeping receipts. Not paper ones, the other kind. The kind that stack up quietly over 3 decades. Every free repair. Every deck I rebuilt for nothing while they sipped wine and watched from lawn chairs. Every family dinner where I was the punchline because I did not drive a German car or bill by the hour. Every school play and birthday where I was the built-in babysitter because my time was assumed to be worth less than theirs. Every single instance where my mother looked at my calloused hands like they were something I ought to apologize for. They probably expected me to cry, to grovel, to show up to that gala with my head down and a check for the caterer, the way I always had. Not this time. They had finally cut the line clean, and for the first time in my life, standing there against my truck, I did not feel small. I felt free. And I had a plan starting to build itself in my head, board by board, the way I build everything. The first thing I did was tell Owen everything, not just about the message, but about all of it, the years of it, the slow drip of being made to feel like the family's embarrassing footnote. We sat at our kitchen table that night after the kids were asleep, 2 mugs of tea going cold between us. He listened without interrupting once, which is one of the 1,000 reasons I married him. When I finally ran out of words, he just reached across the table, took my hand, turned it over, and pressed his thumb into the callus at the base of my fingers like it was something precious. Then he asked, "What do you want to do?" That question landed somewhere deep and old. Most people in my family did not have a single human being who would stand behind them no matter what. I had one sitting right across from me, and I had spent years taking him for granted while begging for scraps of approval from people who would never, ever give them. Right then, I decided I was going to show all of them exactly what it looks like when they lose the only one of us who ever cared about something real. I already had a solid local name, but the plan pushed it to a different level entirely. Clients who had been circling for months suddenly wanted to lock in dates, worried I would get too busy for them. So that same week, I got to work. I called my friend Priya, who runs a small marketing agency out of a co-working space downtown, and asked her to help me rebrand from the studs up. Not just a website with a phone number, but professional photography of every piece, a clean booking system, cinematic video of my process, real testimonials from real clients with real names. The whole thing cost me $5,200, which felt like a fortune the week I spent it. Within a month, I was booked 4 months out and had started a waiting list of my own. That secretary desk for my mother, that had just been the warm-up act. I had a full blueprint now, a way to disappear from these people's lives while leveling up every part of mine at the same time. I was not going to argue with them. I was going to become someone they could not afford to have ignored, and then I was going to leave. The first big domino fell in the 3rd week, and it fell because of the exact reputation my family had decided was worthless. That tech founder whose home office built-ins I had finished, she posted a single photo of the finished wall to a design forum with 40,000 members, tagged my brand new page, and wrote one line about how she had waited 8 months for me and would gladly have waited 2 years. By the next morning, I had 11 inquiry emails, 2 of them from an interior designer who quietly furnishes half the lake houses in the county and had never once returned my calls before that day. One of those conversations turned into the largest single commission of my career up to that point, a floor-to-ceiling library and a curved reception desk for a boutique law office downtown. Of all the poetic places, $31,000, signed before the paint had even dried on my new website. I sat in the shop the night that deposit cleared, listening to the dust settle in the work lights, and I thought about how at that very same hour, my family sincerely believed I was home sulking over a group text, nursing my little bruise, finally learning my proper place. Let them think it. I had learned a long time ago that the people who count you out stop watching your hands, and a person who stops watching your hands will never once see the swing coming. Every single week they underestimated me was one more week the eventual landing got heavier and truer. Priya watched my numbers climb and started laughing on our calls, saying she had never seen a launch move like this, that she was barely doing anything, that the work was doing it all by itself. I told her the work had always been doing it. It just never had a room to stand in where the acoustics were not rigged against it before now. Then I reached out to Callum. Callum and I came up together, 2 broke kids sanding tabletops in the same shop a decade ago, both of us sick to death of watching the owner sign his name to our work and take it to the trade shows. He had gone off and built something huge in Asheville, North Carolina, a real shop with a real waiting list and a real name, and for 2 years he had been quietly trying to recruit me every few months. I sent him one text, "Still need a lead maker in Asheville?" His answer answer came back before I even set the phone down. Yesterday. My crew is booked 8 months out and I am turning away money every week. Come build with me. I will help you move. I mean it. 10 minutes later, he called me and we talked for an hour while I sat on my workshop floor with my back against the lathe. He told me the market for handmade furniture down there was on fire, that transplants were pouring in with money and no patience for particle board, that there was more demand than there were skilled hands in the whole region to meet it. A whole client base, he said, sitting there waiting for someone with my hands. By the time we hung up, I was already measuring the drive in my head. Meanwhile, I played it smart online. I started posting my best work with intention. A live edge walnut dining table that had just sold for $11,000. A wall of built-ins for a tech founder's home office that got shared around the local design pages. Slow, hypnotic videos of me hand-planing a board until the shavings came off in long, translucent ribbons. Always polished. Always the picture of a woman who did not need a single thing from anyone. I never once mentioned the family. I did not have to, and they noticed. I could see the little rings around their names when they watched my stories. Blake, the laughing emoji cousin, started liking every post within minutes of it going up. Sabrina, my brother's rich wife, commented, "Stunning craftsmanship on a walnut sideboard." The same Sabrina who once asked me at a barbecue whether I had considered doing something with more of a future. My mother started sending me private messages, casual ones, breezy ones, asking about the kids, forwarding articles about kitchen renovations as if the group chat had never happened. I left every single one of them sitting on red. Then my mother texted me directly. No small talk. "Your father is worried sick about you. Answer his messages." No apology. No mention of the group chat, the meme, the public gutting in front of the entire extended family. Just an order. Like I was a subordinate who had gone quiet on an email chain. I did not respond. I had one card left that none of them knew I was even holding. That card was Camille Ross. Years back, before she was anybody, Camille had a small studio and a rush commission for the mayor's residence that was about to collapse because 2 of her people quit the same week. I pulled 3 straight all-nighters and saved the entire job for her, and I asked for nothing in return except that she remember it. She never forgot. She had since become one of the most respected furniture designers in the country, with a national distribution deal and her own show on a home network. We stayed in loose touch over the years. A text here, a photo of a finished piece there. On a whim, one late night in the shop, I sent her photos of my recent work. She called me the very next morning before I had even finished my coffee. "Sloan," she said, and I could hear her turning the phone to look closer. "This is museum grade. The joinery on this cabinet. Why on earth have you been hiding it in a garage in Ohio?" We talked for over an hour. By the time we hung up, she had offered me a guest segment on her show and a personal introduction to her distributor, who was actively hunting for artisan makers to feature and stock. Just like that, I had a potential national platform and a distribution channel. The exact 2 things that turn a local craftsperson into a name people drive 2 states to buy from. I told no one in my family. Let them keep thinking I was the charity case, the handy woman, the one who wasted her potential. The longer they underestimated me, the better the whole thing was going to land. 2 weeks after the text that started it all, Claire called me. When I did not pick up, she left a voicemail. Her lawyer voice smoothed over something underneath it I could not name yet. "Hey, so, Mom's gala is the Saturday after next. She wants to know if you are still coming. Just, let somebody know either way. Okay, bye." I did not call back. I let her sit in it. I was learning that silence, real silence, is the one thing people like my family cannot stand because it does not give them anything to push against. About 3 weeks after the message, I was loading up my truck after finishing a built-in library for a university dean when my phone rang. It was my cousin Nolan. Nolan had moved to Denver years ago after a falling out with Uncle Ray over borrowed money that was never paid back, so he sat all the way outside the family's daily weather, which made him one of the only people who would ever tell me the truth to my face. "What in the world is going on between you and Aunt Diane?" he asked. No hello, no warm-up. I gave him the short version, the text, the pile-on, the meme, the years of being the family failure. Nolan went quiet for a second on the other end. Then he said, "They talk about every single one of you behind your backs, right? Even St. Clair." That got my attention. "What do you mean?" He laughed, and it was not a warm laugh. "Your mom was at my folks' place last month. I happened to be in town. I heard her complaining to my dad in the kitchen about how Claire's firm passed her over for partner, again, and how she is drowning, and how your mom quietly covered the down payment on Claire's condo so the family would not lose face at the club. And then, and I swear this is word for word, your mom said, at least Sloan stands on her own 2 feet, even if it is just sanding boards." He paused. "There is more." Nolan kept going, and I stood in that driveway holding a router in one hand, forgetting to breathe. "Your dad calls Sabrina the ice queen behind her back. Cannot stand her, thinks she looks down on all of them, which fair. And here is the part that is going to get you, so sit down if you are standing. Your mom did not choose to retire. Sterling Federal pushed her out. Restructuring is the word they are using in the invitations. But my dad plays golf with a guy on their board, and he says there were rumors flying around about accounting problems in her division, numbers that did not reconcile, and that the whole retirement gala is a story they cooked up to make a firing look like a farewell tour. 40 glorious years, walk her out with balloons, nobody asks the ugly question. After that call, I sat in my truck in the Dean's circular driveway for a long time, just staring at the steering wheel while the sun moved across the dash. All these years I had believed believed I was the family disappointment, the crack in an otherwise perfect vase. Turns out the whole thing was a stage set, painted plywood held up from behind with lies and other people's money, and a terror of anyone looking too closely. The very next day, I got a message from Renata. Renata sits on a charity board with Sabrina, and she and I had always gotten along at the handful of family events she wandered into on Sabrina's arm. "Hey Sloan," she wrote, "this is going to be a weird question, and please tell me if I am out of line. Is everything all right with Grant and Sabrina?" She called me sobbing at 2 in the morning and would not say why. I called her back. It came out in pieces. Grant had found messages on Sabrina's phone, a long, detailed thread with her assistant, a man barely older than half of her net worth, and the messages left absolutely nothing to the imagination. The perfect rich marriage, the one Grant had waved in my face at every Christmas, the trophy he genuinely believed made him a better person than his sister with the sawdust under her nails, that whole thing was rotting from the inside. Another painted wall of the set tipping slowly over into the mud. 2 days after that, my cousin Nadia messaged me on Facebook out of nowhere. Nadia is married to one of my cousins on my dad's side. We were never close, but she had always been quietly decent to me at the events where I stood alone by the food table. "I probably should not be the one telling you this," she wrote, "but your family is in full-blown panic mode about the gala. Your mom's old boss is coming, and a whole row of sterling executives, and they are terrified that people are going to notice you are not there and start asking why the daughter is missing. It is all anyone is talking about." Claire actually suggested, out loud at a planning dinner, that they hire an actor to show up and pretend to be you for the photos so it does not look strange in pictures. I read that one about 4 times and laughed until my eyes ran. Hire an actor to play the embarrassing carpenter daughter for the family photos. That was a brand new low, and I had thought I had seen the floor of these people. But Nadia was not finished. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "There is one more thing," she wrote, "and it has been eating at me since it happened, and after everything I think you deserve to know. That message your mom sent, the one telling you not to come. I was at the planning dinner the night before it went out. Your mom left her phone sitting on the kitchen counter when she got up to help your dad carry something in from the garage, and I watched Claire pick it up and sit there typing on it for a solid 2 or 3 minutes, then set it back down exactly where it was, calm as anything. I did not think one thing of it at the time. People grab each other's phones all the time. But after that text landed the next morning, I keep going back to it. Sloan, I do not think your mom wrote that message. I think Claire wrote it from your mom's phone and let it go out under her name. I sat very, very still in my truck, and it clicked into place with a sound almost like a well-cut joint seating home, that soft final thunk when 2 pieces of wood decide to become one thing forever. Claire, the golden child. The one who had watched me build something real and self-made with my own hands while she quietly drowned in debt, and a job that was hollowing her out, and a family that still, somehow, would never look at her the way she was starving to be looked at. Of course it was Claire. It was not proof, not yet, but I knew it the way I know good grain from bad the second my hand touches the board. And you know what I did with that knowledge? Nothing. I said not one word. I filed it away carefully, right next to all the other receipts, and I kept building. Some tools you do not swing until you are standing exactly where you need to be standing. For 2 days after Nadia's message, I could not let it go. I kept opening that original text and rereading it, and the more I read it, the more certain I became that she was right. My mother has said a great many cruel things to me across 36 years, but she does not talk the way that message talked. She does not write "the whole family agrees." A lawyer writes "the whole family agrees." That is a phrasing built to make a personal cruelty sound like a jury verdict, a thing already decided and voted on, so there is no point in your appealing it. My mother wounds you personally and takes the credit for it to your face. She would have written something aimed at me specifically, some sharp little observation about my choices or my husband or my hands. This was cold and procedural, the language of someone drafting a document, someone who wanted the words to do maximum damage while keeping her own fingerprints entirely off the handle. It was Claire. It had been Claire from the very first read, and I simply had not let myself see it, because the truth of it was so much heavier to carry than a mother being cruel. A mother being cruel I had already survived my entire life. A sister carefully engineering the whole family to throw me out from behind our mother's name, while everyone else laughed and reacted with little hearts. That was an entirely different kind of thing, and it changed what I was willing to do. And here is the part that hardened something in me for good. After that message went out, when I said nothing at all and simply went quiet, not one single person in that family used the silence to wonder whether something might be wrong. Not one of them thought, "This is strange. Sloan always comes back around eventually. Maybe we pushed too far this time. Maybe somebody should check on her." Instead, they filled my silence with a photoshopped meme and a plan to hire an actor to stand in my place for the photographs. They did not miss me. They missed the reliable version of me that could be counted on to swallow it whole and show up anyway with a smile and a checkbook. That was the exact moment I stopped grieving the family I had always wished I had and started building, very calmly and very precisely, the door out of the one I actually had. And I did not confront Claire, and I want to be clear about that because people always ask me why not. I did not call her and scream. I did not demand a confession. I did not hand her the fight she wanted, the one she could reframe later as me being unstable and hysterical, the way they always reframed me. Confrontation was the one arena those people were built for. All that courtroom energy, all that life lifelong practice at turning a true thing into a losing argument, so I gave them nothing to argue with. I let the silence keep doing its patient work, and I saved the truth about who really wrote that message for the single moment it would land somewhere it could never be spun, in writing, in front of every last one of them, on the one day they could not afford to hear it. Then came the kicker, the one that genuinely took the wind out of me. Camille, doing her due diligence before she put a stranger's work on her national show, had mentioned my name to a high-end dealer named Hollis, who runs a place downtown called Ashford Fine Furnishings. Hollis recognized my last name the instant she said it. Camille called to tell me about it, half laughing, half careful, the way you are when you are about to hand someone a knife. Sloan, this is the strangest thing, and I debated whether to even tell you. I mentioned you to Hollis over at Ashford just to check your reputation, and he lit right up. Said your parents have been customers of his for years. But here is the part you need to hear, honey. He said your mother brings friends into his shop and shows off your pieces and tells them she paid a small fortune for exclusive, hard-to-get artisan work. He said she once stood a whole group of her banking friends in front of a walnut console in her front hall, one you very clearly made, and told them she paid $8,200 for it from a maker with a 2-year wait list that she was lucky to get in front of. The walnut console, the Thanksgiving table, the one she unwrapped like a casserole she had not asked for and said she supposed she could find somewhere to put. That one. I felt like someone had swung a joiner's mallet directly into my sternum. They had been bragging about my work, the exact same work they mocked me for making, the same table she could barely say thank you for. She had stood in her marble foyer and passed off as proof of her refined, expensive, discerning taste to the very same people she was too ashamed to let me stand beside at her party. The whole picture finally came into hard focus. They did not just disrespect me. They were proud of what I made. They were simply never, under any circumstances, going to be proud of me. I was good enough to furnish their status. I was not good enough to be named as its source. That night, I told Owen every piece of what I had learned. He was not even a little surprised. They have been using you for years, he said quietly, holding my hand across the same kitchen table. Free labor, free furniture, free childcare every time they were in a pinch. Status symbols they did not have to credit, but heaven forbid they respect what you actually do out loud where somebody might hear it. He was exactly right, and that was the precise moment my plan changed shape in my hands. Up until then, I had wanted to simply walk away clean, no drama, no fireworks, just gone. Now I wanted something colder and more complete. I wanted them to feel, in full, in front of the exact audience they cared about most, precisely what they were losing. I had about 5 weeks before the move to Asheville, and I used every single day of it like a craftsman uses stock, nothing wasted. First, I listed our house through Owen's cousin, a realtor, but I told her to keep it entirely off the public listings. Private sale only, I said. I do not want this showing up anywhere the family might stumble across it. The market where we lived was brutal in the best way, inventory at record lows, and we had renovated the entire place ourselves over 4 years, every cabinet and countertop and length of trim done by my own hands on nights and weekends. Owen's cousin already had a short list of buyers hunting for exactly our kind of house. We listed it asking $92,000 over what we had paid, and she told me flatly we would get it and close fast. We just never breathed one word to anyone in the family. As far as they knew, I was still the same predictable daughter who would grumble and then, eventually, show up. Next, I made myself extremely visible and completely unavailable, which is a very specific and very satisfying combination. I accepted an interview with the local business journal about handmade furniture in an age of disposable everything. The piece ran with a full 2-page spread of photos from my workshop, my hands mid-cut, and a closing line about upcoming expansion into new markets. I bought a stack of extra copies off the newsstand and mailed exactly 0 of them to my relatives. I ramped up the social media, posting daily, going live from the shop a few times so people could watch me joint a board start to finish. My follower count jumped from a few hundred to over 14,000 in the space of 2 months, and the commission requests started coming from 3 states away. Then I started turning down local jobs, telling clients I was booked solid for 6 months and referring them to other makers I respected. The truth was, I was quietly clearing my whole schedule for the move and the new venture with Callum. About 2 weeks before the gala, I posted a single photograph, empty moving boxes stacked in the middle of my workshop floor, tools half-packed around them with the caption, "Big things coming. Watch this space." That is the moment the real flood started. Claire called first, straight to voicemail. Then my mother texted, all sweetness now. "Are you moving your workshop, honey? Your father and I were just saying, we have that whole finished basement sitting empty if you ever need somewhere to store your things." I did not answer. I let the question hang in the air and rot. A day later, Grant called, and when I did not pick up, he sent a long text. "Hey, what is with the boxes? Everything okay with the business? If you need a bridge loan or Claire could look over some restructuring paperwork, we are here for you seriously whatever you need. Grant." The exact same brother who used to introduce me to his rich friends as my sister, the handy woman, and then laugh at his own joke. Suddenly, they were also tenderly concerned about the career they had spent 30 years belittling. They could smell that something enormous was happening, and that for the first time in their lives, they were standing on the outside of it with their faces pressed to the glass. Then the gala invitations arrived in the mail. Thick, gold-embossed cardstock, heavy as a floor tile, announcing a celebration of Diane Merrick's 40 distinguished years at Sterling Federal. Owen handed me the envelope with both eyebrows eyebrows up near his hairline. "They still genuinely think you are coming," he said. Inside, tucked neatly behind the invitation, was a handwritten note from my dad, his careful realtor's penmanship. "Sloan, please come. It would mean everything to your mother." That was it. No apology, no mention of the message, the meme, the actor, the public humiliation. Just the smooth, unshakable assumption that family obligation would always, in the end, outweigh my own dignity, because for 36 years, it always had. 3 days before the party, my mother finally called me herself, in person, no proxy. I let it ring all the way out. Her voicemail was pure, undiluted Diane. "Sloan, it is your mother. This silent treatment is childish and frankly beneath you. Very important people are going to be at this event, people who have known this family for years, and I need to know whether you intend to be there or not so we can plan the seating accordingly. Call me back today." Important people. Not, "I am sorry," not, "I was wrong," not, "I have missed you." Just a logistical worry about how it would look to the important people if her daughter's seat sat conspicuously empty. I did not call back, but I did something far better. I went into my workshop that night, turned on the lights, and I finished the secretary desk, the one I had canceled in a moment of heartbreak. It would be my parting statement, my last word in a conversation they had been having about me for 3 decades, and I wanted it flawless. Quarter-sawn walnut with ribbon figure that caught the light like water, hand-cut dovetails you could set a straight edge against and not find daylight, the hidden compartments behind the drawers, the brass hardware glowing warm and old. It was, without any question, the finest single thing I had ever built. When it was done, I stood back and looked at it for a long time. Then I arranged to have it delivered to my parents' house on the morning of the gala, and I tucked a card inside the fold-down writing surface, where she would find it only after she had already run her hands over the wood. It read, "Congratulations on your retirement. This is the last thing you will ever get from me." Meanwhile, every other piece was sliding quietly into place. The house went under contract and sold for the full $92,000 over what we had paid. Cash, quick close. The movers were booked for the Tuesday after the party. Callum had found us a rental just outside Asheville and had already lined up 3 major clients hungry for my work before I had even signed a lease. Camille had scheduled my show segment for the following month, and her distributor had my portfolio in hand and was, in Camille's words, extremely interested. And then there was the last piece, the one that felt almost too perfect to be true. For several weeks, I had been quietly in talks with Meridian Trust, Sterling Federal's single biggest competitor in the region, about designing and building the entire custom furniture package for their newly renovated executive floor. The boardroom table, the credenzas, the reception millwork, the works. The contract came in at $145,000, more than my mother had made in her final full year at the bank she was being quietly pushed out of. And here is the part that I still cannot quite believe the universe handed me. My mother's retirement gala was being held in the rented event space of Meridian Trust, her own bank's rival, the institution that had just hired her disgraced trade school daughter for more than her salary. So I made a phone call. I asked my contact in Meridian's marketing office to schedule their press announcement, the one naming me as the selected artisan for their executive floor, to go live at 8 o'clock on the morning of the gala. She said it would be no trouble at all. The night before, Owen and I sat out on the back deck in the last warm evening of the season and watched Micah and Ada chase fireflies in loops across the darkening yard. He reached over and squeezed my hand. "Ready for tomorrow?" I nodded, and I meant it all the way down. I had never in my life been more ready for anything. The morning of my mother's retirement gala, I woke up before the sun and reached for my phone. Meridian Trust had posted, right on schedule, at 8 sharp, a clean professional press release announcing their renovated headquarters, prominently highlighting a renowned local craftswoman, Sloan Merrick, selected to design and build the furniture for their executive suite. There were 3 photographs of my previous work and a quote from their chief executive about the value of investing in local artisan talent instead of ordering from a catalog, and they had tagged me directly in the post. That is precisely how half of my mother's guest list found out, over their morning coffee, before they had even chosen what to wear. I took a screenshot, set the phone face down on the nightstand, and went to make pancakes for my kids. At 9:41 in the morning, my workshop security camera pinged my phone. The delivery crew was carefully loading the walnut secretary desk onto their padded truck, right on schedule. At 10:20, Owen came into the kitchen holding up his own phone, eyebrows raised. "Your mom has called 4 times in the last 10 minutes, he said. "You want me to answer it, or—" "Not yet," I told him, sliding another pancake onto Ada's plate. "Not yet." At 11:18, the delivery company sent me a confirmation, package delivered and signed for by Diane Merrick. I imagined her opening it in her foyer, next to the spot where the console table used to sit, running her hand over the grain the way I had once daydreamed she would, and then finding the card, and then the sky came down. My mother called 7 times in a row, back to back, no gap. My father called twice. Claire texted, "What did you do?" Just that. No punctuation, no capital letter at the end. Grant texted, "Answer your phone right now. This has gone far enough. You are hurting Mom." I turned the phone all the way off, packed a cooler with sandwiches and grapes, and took the kids to the park for the entire afternoon. We fed the ducks. Micah lost a shoe in the creek and we never found it. Ada fell asleep in the grass with a fistful of dandelions. It was, hand to my heart, one of the best afternoons I can remember having in years. When we finally got home around 4 o'clock, roughly an hour before the gala was scheduled to begin across town, I turned the phone back on and and let it catch up. 31 missed calls, 47 text messages, most of them from immediate family, but a few from family friends I barely knew, and even a couple from Sterling executives who had bounced me on their knees at company picnics when I was small. I scrolled through the whole avalanche of them slowly, sitting on my back step. They ranged from white-hot fury to genuine confusion to something that was very close to begging. My mother, Sloan, call me this instant. I cannot walk into this party looking like this. Grant, how long have you been talking to Meridian? Do you have the faintest idea how this looks for mom? People are walking up to her asking about her artist daughter, and she has absolutely nothing to say to them. You did this on purpose. Claire, the desk is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen, and the card made mom sit down on the stairs and cry for 20 minutes. Please, whatever this is, please just call one of us. Grant again later. Sabrina moved out yesterday and took the accounts, and now this. I cannot handle all of it in the same week. Please just call somebody. Anybody. Uncle Ray. You have taken this way too far, kid. Blood is blood, whatever you think of us. And then, the single most interesting message of the entire pile, from a number I did not have saved in my phone. Ms. Merrick, this is Eleanor Frost, Chief Operating Officer at Sterling Federal. I saw the Meridian announcement this morning and then realized, to my surprise, that you are Diane's daughter. Your work is genuinely exceptional, the sort of thing we have been trying to source for our own branches for 2 years. I would very much like to speak with you about some opportunities on our side of the street. Please do reach out whenever is convenient for you. I showed Owen that entire thread. He read it through slowly, twice, then set the phone down and looked at me. They still do not get it, he said quietly. Read them again. Not one single one of these is an apology. They are not sorry they hurt you. They are sorry they got caught looking bad in front of the important people. And he was exactly right. I read all 47 of them a second time just to be sure. In every one, there was not one line, not one clause, that said I am sorry for what we did to you. It was all about the party, the optics, the questions, the empty, humiliating chair. At 5:30, as the gala was beginning across town in a ballroom that my competitor was paying me $145,000 to furnish, I finally responded, not to any of them privately, one at a time, where it could be managed and spun. I opened the family group chat, the exact same one where all of this had started, where the meme still sat scrolled up above cheerful notes about tablecloths, and I typed the only thing I had left to say to any of them. By now, you have all seen the Meridian announcement, and my desk has been delivered and signed for. So consider this my RSVP. No, I will not be there to play the grateful daughter in your little performance of a perfect family. For 30 years, you have treated me like an embarrassment to be managed, while quietly bragging about my work to your friends behind my back. Mom, Hollis over at Ashford says hello, by the way. He tells me you love to show people that walnut console in the front hall, the one you say cost you $8,200 from an exclusive maker with a 2-year wait list. I am the exclusive maker. I built it for you for free. For Christmas, 90 hours of my life, the same holiday you could barely look at it, and asked whether Claire got her earrings. Then you all decided I caused a scene for wanting a thank you. And while we are finally being honest with each other, let's talk about the message, the one telling me not to come. We both know you did not write it, Mom. Claire did, from your phone, at the planning dinner, while you were out in the garage with Dad. She typed it, she sent it under your name, and then she sat back and watched. And every single one of you, Claire, Grant, Ray, all of you, watched that text go out and said absolutely nothing. You laughed. You made a meme out of my face. You floated hiring an actor to stand in my place for the photographs. Not one of you picked up a phone to tell your sister the truth. So here is mine. All of it. One time. I sold the house. We close next week. I am moving to Asheville, where people line up and pay real money for what these hands can do, and nobody needs me to apologize for the calluses. I have signed contracts worth more than you earned in your entire final year at Sterling, Mom. In the same month, they quietly walked you out the door and threw you a party to hide it. The daughter you were ashamed of just out-earned the lawyer who is drowning and the man who married a fortune and lost it. So enjoy the gala. Enjoy the important people. Enjoy explaining the empty chair with my name on the little card. And enjoy the desk. It is the last piece of me you will ever own. Then I put the phone face down on the step, took my 2 kids out for ice cream, and did not look at it again for 2 full days. I never once went back into that group chat to watch it burn down. I did not need to. Every piece fell exactly where I had said it, and I heard about each one afterward from Nolan and from Nadia, the way you hear about the weather in a town you have already driven out of mildly from a distance with the windows up. Claire got fired 11 days after the gala. It turned out the drowning was so much worse than even Nolan knew. She had been quietly pulling money out of a client trust account for months to cover the condo my mother believed she was covering, and to bury debts that nobody in the family had any idea existed. The firm found all of it in an audit. They agreed not to press charges, but only on the condition that every last dollar was returned. And Claire, the golden child, the corporate lawyer, did not have anywhere near it. So my mother, 62 years old and freshly and quietly pushed out of her own bank, remortgaged the house she and my father had owned free and clear for 18 years in order to keep her golden child out of a courtroom and out of the papers. The retirement savings that the entire gala had been built to celebrate were gone inside a single month. They traded a paid-off home for a monthly mortgage payment they cannot actually make on a fixed income, all to protect the daughter who forged the message that started every bit of this. Grant's marriage was already a wreck the day of the gala, but the divorce divorce made it official and total. It went exactly the way these things go when the person holding all the money is the one who wants out and did nothing legally wrong. The prenup that Grant had bragged about signing, so proud, so certain he had won the whole lottery of his life, left him with almost nothing but a lease on a downtown condo he could no longer afford by himself. The last thing I heard, Sabrina had already moved the assistant into the house Grant used to show off at Christmas, and Grant had moved into my parents' newly remortgaged guest room, one broke sibling stacked neatly on top of another, in a house that no longer belonged to anyone, and my mother. Her grand farewell tour, 40 distinguished years, ended in a rented ballroom full of banking executives who had every one of them already seen a press release from her own direct competitor, announcing that the daughter she refused to seat at her table was the artisan of the year for the rival's executive floor. The careful story she had built to make a firing look like a triumph collapsed completely under the combined weight of one empty chair and one delivered desk. I am told she left early. They called after. Of course they called. My mother left a voicemail about 2 weeks later, her voice smaller than I had ever heard it, saying she understood now that she had been so wrong for so long that she just wanted the chance to talk. Grant texted asking whether the thing in Asheville was real and whether maybe I could use family in the shop, whether there might be room for him. Even Claire wrote one time, a long, careful, lawyerly message absolutely full of the word, sorry, sorry, sorry. I read all of them, every word. Then I did the one thing that felt honest after 36 years of being the family's built-in disappointment, its free labor, its unnamed source of borrowed status. I left them exactly the way they had always, so easily, left me. On red. We moved to Asheville the following Tuesday. The truck came at dawn, and by noon the only house my kids had ever known stood empty behind us, and I did not feel one single thing except the clean, wide-open quiet of a life with nobody left in it who needed me to be smaller than I am. Callum met us in the driveway of the rental with the keys in one hand and a box of tacos in the other, and by the end of that first week I had deposits on 6 new commissions and a real waiting list of my own starting to form. Owen found a music program that paid a full step better than his old one. Micah joined a baseball team and got put at shortstop. Ada found a pile of walnut offcuts in the corner of the new workshop and started very seriously building what she informed me, with total gravity, was a house for a bird that had not agreed to move in yet. Somewhere in all of that, Hollis called me, a little sheepish, clearing his throat. A walnut console table had come across his floor at Ashford, sold to him by a woman clearing out a house she was about to lose, and when he had turned it over to check it, he had found a maker's mark burned into the underside. My mark. The small wren I stamp into everything I build. He asked, gently, whether I wanted to buy it back before he put it out on the floor. I stood in my new workshop, surrounded by the smell of fresh-cut walnut, and a whole city full of people who could not wait to pay me for it, and I told him no. Let it go, I said. Let it go to somebody who will love it without needing to lie about where it came from. They spent 30 years deciding I was the family's single biggest mistake. Turns out I was just the only one who ever refused to keep paying for theirs.